This is just a few questions from Chicago. I'm Marc Sims, your host, and I have James in on the phone from Chicago. And James, we're going to talk about this and that and that. And that. So, James, you like me just saying James in? You do have a real last name, right?
Yes, I do.
But on Facebook, it's James in. You don't have to tell people your last name unless you want to, because on Facebook, you're James in.
Right. Well, they can tell. I mean, I have no qualms with that. When my last name is Newborn, Newborn, like a newborn baby. I don't. I mean, that's been my Facebook, page for like years. I don't know why they put the James in. It doesn't matter.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to talk about this since this drama jumping off in Minneapolis.
Mhm.
If you were in charge, the governor, the mayor of Minneapolis, the governor of Minnesota, or even anybody, or you're just king of the world, how would you stop the police in Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, any of these American cities? How do you stop the police? How do we stop the police from killing black people and other people?
Well, that that can be difficult, but I think that one thing that we need is that we need a strong police accountability where basically we need to look at the the Fraternal Order of Police. We need to go back to these union contracts because these union contracts give the police a lot of leeway to doing things illegally that they can never be fired, they can never be charged. It's very difficult. I mean, since we're talking about Chicago, it's very difficult to fire a Chicago police officer. I mean, even when it's blatant that this officer has done something that was out of order, whether he killed someone, or whatever. I mean, it's extremely difficult. So then we need to look at these contracts with the FOP and to make it more, to say it needs to be more community-based orientated to say, look, we're not anti-police, but we need to be more community orientated. We need to find a happy medium of saying we're not anti-police, but we need to be pro-community. We need to be pro-community when a cop just does something so blatant and nothing happens to him. Just look at John Burge. I mean, we have been knowing about John Burge for years. What happened to him? No, he died on his own, and I don't wish anyone any death, but he was never charged for what he did. By just randomly getting black men and just basically torturing them, torturing their torturing their penises, torturing them in their posterior. He was never charged for that. The only reason why he got put into jail because he got caught lying about something he said, and it was later found out it was not true.
Well, James, and you know all the atrocities that have been done to black people ever since 1619.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, why do you think the media? Because you mentioned the FOP, I didn't want to go there per se, but because that's the real root of the problem. The FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police.
Yes.
Why doesn't the media, local, national, go after the FOP? Are they that powerful, or what's the deal? How come the people don't? The media, the fourth estate, why don't they go after the FOP?
Right. Well, I think that it's for like a variety of reasons. It's more or less like a lot of particularly white people who were born in suburbia. They was taught that, hey, the cops are good. They live in their neighborhoods. Where they're good citizens. They go to the same churches, the same bowling alleys, the same bars, the same lounges. So it was kind of like, well, you know what? Hey, there might be a few bad apples, but most of all, they're good. So I think that within a lot of white society, they tend to downplay is that when things are going on into our community, because most of the cops that's in urban areas, they don't live in our community. You take here in Chicago, most of the police officers live on the far northwest side, white areas. They don't live in our neighborhoods. Sure, we got a few black cops that might live in
There's
our
probably a
area.
few in the far southwest side too, right?
Of course, like Beverly, Mount Greenwood. Absolutely. So then they have been around a society where they have had no communication with black people. They didn't go to school with black people. They didn't live amongst black people. They come from a history where their families were cops. Hey, you know what? My dad was a cop. My granddad was a cop. Blah, blah, blah. My uncle was a cop. So then when they see the few minority of our people who do commit unfortunate crimes against each other, they think that we all are in that sort of vein. That's all we are, nothing but a bunch of drug dealers, gangbangers, killers, which is not true. So then when they go into these communities and they patrol, they sometimes have a very biased view of blacks, which skews their opinion. They're like, well, hey, he probably was a dope dealer. Well, he need to die anyway.
But and that's all true. I cannot disagree with anything you're saying. But the main thing goes back to the FOP. The police as an institution disrespects and kills black people and other people mainly because they can.
Absolutely. And it's because of the union contracts that gives them the authority to do that. So then if Lori Lightfoot wants to be a good steward of the city, I know she's not from here, she's from Ohio, then that union contract, which I believe is coming up very soon.
Well, they haven't had a contract in years.
Right, but if I'm not mistaken,
it's overdue to get done. It's overdue to get done. Yeah.
Right. That needs to be addressed because if you look at the FOP contract, they can basically they can do whatever they want. Keep in mind, okay, let's take the black people out of it. If you can recall, Mark, there was a young Polish woman who worked in a bar, and there was a cop. He was off duty at the time, and he was drunk. She cut him off. She said, "You're drunk. I'm not serving you anymore." He went behind the bar and beat literally the living hell out of this woman, this little Polish American woman who was probably like 5'2", 120 pounds, and this guy was like 6'3", 240, and he beat her to a bloody pulp. Don't you know that it took the Chicago police almost 3 years to fire him? Why? Everything was on tape. So then it's not even, at times, it's not a racial thing. To them, it's an authority thing. It's like, I have the power to do whatever I want to do. He was a drunk, off-duty police officer, and he felt because this woman cut him off because he was drunk and he wanted to have more alcohol, and she said, no way. He felt that he had the authority to go around the bar and beat the hell out of her, and he was white and she was white. And it took him 3 years to fire him.
I got it. I want to talk about Trump and Biden. That's another show. I have to bring you back for Trump and Biden. I'm going to end this podcast by saying, with this drama, with this uprising in Minnesota and the Minneapolis, is this a turning point in this country where we're finally going to see some great change in this country?
Well, I think that it remains to be seen. I mean, we said the same thing with Trayvon Martin. We said the same thing with Eric Gardner, that, hey, this is going to be this turning point where basically you have white America say, wow, okay.
Well, let me cut you off. And you finish your thought. We'll finish the show. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take the majority or a plurality, if you will, of white America to say, okay, police, we've had enough of y'all.
Right. But if Donald Trump, if he does what I think he's going to do, and he had a conversation with the U.S. attorney, I believe yesterday, and if they file civil rights charges against these cops, I know one, he's been charged, but he's been charged based on the county level in Minnesota. But if Donald Trump and the Attorney General says that we're filing charges against these police officers, one of whom was an Asian man, keep that in mind. If you can recall, he was a little Asian dude who was standing.
The videos, everybody's seen the pictures. They can go see them now. But
exactly.
But finish your point.
is that if he says we're going to file civil rights charges against, is that Mr. Floyd's civil rights were violated. And if they do that, I believe Donald Trump is guaranteed to be reelected.
Okay. Well, let's end on that so I can bring you back and talk about Donald Trump and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, you
James,
can call me back
James N., it's been a pleasure. You are a great talker.
Yes, likewise.
I have to have you back on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Well, you can hit me up anytime, and you know what? It would be my honor and pleasure to be on your show. Mark, it's good hearing from you.